Week 3 is here. We have a top 15 matchup taking place in South Bend, a top 15 matchup taking place in Knoxville. Florida's looking to bounce back. Clemson is looking to improve on whatever you want to call last week. Diego Pavia goes on the road for the second straight week. And can USF do it for the third week in a row? We'll give you our under the radar picks and our best bets. We had a YouTuber reach out to us and suggest we let you guys know what our record is for pod picks so that people can, they can know whether to fade or to follow. Let me tell you, you should follow me. You should definitely be following my man Lance, who is on a little bit of a heater to start the season with his pod picks. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. Real quick before we get started, as always, make sure you click like and subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. Click the subscribe button on YouTube. Click the follow button on Spotify. Click the follow button, the plus button, whatever it is on Apple. Make sure you're following us on X, at Always Talk Ball, on Instagram and TikTok, at Always Talking Ball. We're putting out some good videos, some good clips. We love the interaction, as always, so bring on the comments and the likes. Lance, let's get into some big games here, sponsored by Branded Bills. Click the link in the episode description or click the QR code in the top right screen of the YouTube video. Lance is sporting his Another America. He's just the most patriotic podcaster out there, that's for sure. When you check out, you can get yourself an America hat. You can get yourself a Dad Life hat. Any colleges on there that you love, they're going to be on there. They're awesome. I just got an Indiana hat the other day. It's really nice. Type in the promo code BRANDED15 for 15% off your first order. Again, click that QR code or click the link in the description of our episode. Let's start off with Texas A&M at Notre Dame, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Notre Dame comes in as around a 7-point favorite right now. Opened up at 6.5. It's up to 7. So people are actually liking the Irish coming off the bye week. Notre Dame is 1-2 in home openers under Marcus Freeman, with losses to Marshall and Northern Illinois. So not a great track record in those home openers. It's a must win for Notre Dame, in my opinion. I mean, you don't have a conference to play for. Obviously, they're not in a conference. You don't have a conference championship to play for. If you lose this game, you can reel off 10 wins and you can make the playoffs, but you're going to be, I'm afraid you might be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned it the last episode, man. I asked you if Notre Dame was to lose this game. Well, we always say that, you got to go 10-2 in the Power 2 conferences, in the Big 2 conferences, in the Big 10 and the SEC. But you got to be 10-2 to really just, no matter what, to put yourself in that position. We've been saying that we think there might be some 9-3 teams this year that would have a chance to put themselves in position to make the playoff. But Notre Dame, I don't think, is one of those teams as far as 9-3 is concerned. But 10-2 with losses to A&M and to Miami. Obviously, we don't know what the rest of their schedule is going to look like. What the rest of those teams, like USC, could go on a run and be, some great team this year, and Notre Dame end up beating them later in the year, and they get in at 10-2. But yeah, I don't disagree, man. But it seems like this early in the year, it definitely seems like a must win game for Notre Dame. Just interesting, man, with a bye week like this, coming after one game, you go down to Miami, and a lot of people were questioning Mike Denbrock's play calling in that game. You ran the quarterback more, CJ Carr, who's not really a dual threat. They ran him more than they ran the best running back in the country, Jeremiah Love. So I'm assuming we're going to see Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price a little bit of a heavier load with them this week. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you would think so. But I mean, A&M shown with their defense the first two games against UTSA and Utah State that they have allowed some big shot plays. So I think Denbrock, and he saw Carr's ability in that game against Miami to throw the ball deep down the field, especially in the second half when they had to open up it a little bit. But he threw a nice fade to Malachi Fields. Again, I think they're going to want to get Will Pauling, Jaden Greathouse involved because they had 0 combined catches between those two. So yeah, A&M's defense was a little. I mean, they put up 40 points in those games, but they also gave up over 20 in both of those games to, some subpar competition. What are your thoughts on Marcel Reed? Like, is he the type of quarterback? We saw him go on the road last year a couple times.
Yep.
Not perform well. He's going on the road at night in South Bend. And speaking of, quarterbacks getting more carries, he's leading the A&M running backs he's leading that team in carries, which is crazy because we said they might have the deepest room of running backs. I'm not sure why they're not giving them the majority of the load, but he's leading in attempts and carries and rushing yards.
Yeah, with his dual threat ability and Colin Klein's offense, he likes to run the quarterback. But I agree, I don't think that's going to be the recipe for success moving forward for the rest of the year for A&M. Is for him to lead them in carries. But you're right, he had some road struggles at the end of last year. I mean, they got spanked at South Carolina, they got beat at Auburn. Both of those games were at night, like this one at Notre Dame. Notre Dame in a back against the wall, mentality type deal at night. You got to think that place is going to be rocking like we saw it in the playoff game against Indiana last year in that big game that they had. I want to see, as far as A&M's concerned, like we saw Miami, like
Yeah.
they were able to run the football and they were able to kind of control the line of scrimmage from the offensive side of the ball for most of that game. In the fourth quarter, Notre Dame started to attack the line of scrimmage more. It seemed like they were getting a little bit more pressure. They were able to stop the running game more there in that fourth quarter against the Canes. But it's just kind of strange, man. Not strange, but it's kind of interesting that, when you talk about some of the best offensive lines in the country this year going into the season, you would have A&M and you would have Miami as two of your, top 5 to 8
Mhm.
offensive lines in the country going into the season. Obviously, Notre Dame's got a great offensive line too. But yeah, I mean, I want to see Notre Dame be able to get a little bit more pressure. I was listening to Cole Kubelik and Greg McElroy here recently, and Kubelik was talking about that, like, so far, when Marcel Reed, when they're in a passing situation and he has pressure on him, I mean, most quarterbacks aren't great under pressure. We all know that, but some are much better than others and some are much worse than others. It definitely seems like Marcel Reed, up to this point, that when things start collapsing around him in the pocket, that obviously one of his number one things he wants to do is try to take off and run.
Yeah.
Uh, can Notre Dame keep him in the pocket and get him to the ground? Can they get pressure on him and keep him in the pocket and don't let him get outside the pocket and make a bunch of plays with his feet? And again, Notre Dame secondary, man, supposed to be one of the best in the country coming into this
Yep.
game. Obviously, we saw that freshman Malachi Tony give them a lot of problems. That really speedy, quick, Malachi Tony is very fast, but he's more quick than he is fast. Like his ability to get in and out of his breaks and to go 5 yards and cut left or cut right, and he's open like for that little split second. The quarterback knows it's going to get it to him. A&M has guys like that. A&M has guys like KC Concepcion and Mario Craver who are burners, who are very quick, very fast. Terry Bussey, that as well. So that matchup with that wide receiver core, because early on, so far, I know it's not against competition like Notre Dame. A&M's wide receivers, man, they have absolutely lived up to the hype. Craver and KC Concepcion have been really good these first 2 weeks. What's your thoughts on that matchup with A&M's wide receivers against the Notre Dame secondary?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, Craver and Concepcion both averaging over 16 yards per reception and
Yeah.
both have 3 touchdowns. And then you got guys like Terry Bussey, who, in the slot over the middle. So, yeah, I mean, it is something, if you're a Notre Dame fan, it's something to worry about, like something that Chris Ash and the defensive guys need to correct. I mean, you look at that game against Miami, and yeah, Tony lit him up a little bit, kind of got open for that touchdown. CJ Daniels had that ridiculous one-handed catch where if a Don Schuler just goes at CJ Daniels instead of trying to go for the pick,
Yeah.
obviously we don't get that catch. So it's just almost like a little bit of fundamental stuff. Playing at home, crowds in your favor, I think. I mean, what I'm really interested to see is the offensive line for Notre Dame, because obviously they were in passing only situations there in the fourth quarter. Ruben Bain and those guys got after CJ Carr. Cassius Howell is having himself a really good first couple games for A&M. We know A&M, obviously they don't have Shamar Stewart and Shamar Turner, but they've always got a good D-line. Can Notre Dame's offensive line, I guess I'll say, bounce back a little bit, because it was a performance we weren't really expecting against Miami.
I agree, and that you just hit the nail on the head. That is the key to the game, in my opinion, for the Irish, is going to be that matchup with their offensive line. Can Texas A&M? I do think Notre Dame is going to try to run the football a little bit more in this one. I'll be shocked if Marcus Freeman does not something that he wants to try to establish early on. That just sets the tone, man, for the rest of your team. I mean, that was Notre Dame's MO last year. that physical like presence of that offensive line and that run game that just again sets the tone for the rest of your team. That fires your defense up. That takes the other team's will when they can't stop the run. So I know A&M with Cassius Howell, like you said, they can get after the passer. I believe that they can get pressure on the quarterback, like not consistently, but like game in and game out. I do think that's something that Mike Elko can help dial up for Texas A&M is dial up some pressures. But I want to see how they hold up against this Notre Dame run game. And that fourth quarter last year in College Station, that was a difference in the game. Notre Dame took over that game just lining up, playing big boy, grown-ass man football and running the rock against A&M in that fourth quarter. So both of these teams definitely need to be able to stop the run and try to make the other team's quarterback beat them. I'm fine with CJ Carr, man. Like I'm a believer. I was a believer in him before the season, but obviously there's that thing about like you got to watch him play first.
Mhm.
After you saw him go down to Miami on the road and how he handled himself there,
Yep.
he never really seemed like he was in a panic. He never really seemed like he was some redshirt freshman making his first start ever. Like, do you feel confident that he's not going to be in this game and be rattled against Texas A&M?
Yeah, first 2 games against Miami and A&M, really tough games for a redshirt freshman quarterback. So I think coming out of this game, win or loss, I think Notre Dame fans should feel encouraged by him, and obviously I think the competition is only going to get easier going forward. We don't know what's going to happen, but in our minds, it's going to get easier going forward. You got Purdue on deck next week, so man, lines at 7 on this. Totals at 49.5. Last year was 23-13. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring than that. I don't think. I just think that both teams are going to be able to move the ball a little bit more. Last year was like 6-6 at halftime.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be opened up a little bit more. Dude, if I'm not going to bet on this game at all. And if I were betting on it, I mean, I would take A&M +7 right now in a heartbeat. I can't bring myself to do it, but that's where I would lean, would be A&M +7.
I'm with you. As of right now, it's not a best bet, but I'm close to getting there with it and taking the shot at the points with Texas A&M. And I agree with you. I do think there'll be some more points scored in this game. I do think both defenses are really freaking good. Again, both teams with great defensive-minded coaches. I think they'll be buttoned up and dialed in defensively for the game. But I just think that year 2 in Colin Klein's system with the weapons that A&M has added and Marcel Reed now having more time. Obviously, Marcel Reed didn't play in that game last year, first game of the year. His dual threat ability, I think, will open up a few more things. It's going to come down again, kind of like we talked about in that Ohio State-Texas game. These games against these top-tier teams that have really good defenses and defensive-minded coaches, when you get in the red zone, can you get in the end zone? As a defense, can you make the other team kick field goals instead of giving up 6? I think, too, Notre Dame, they're more of because of CJ Carr. We already saw it in his first freaking start. They slinging around the yard with him a little bit there down in Miami. I think they definitely trust him. They trust that wide receiver core for Notre Dame. So I think you are going to see them throw the ball a little bit more than like we saw Notre Dame last year in some of those games. So I agree. I do think it warrants a little bit of more of a higher scoring type game than what we saw last year. Is it enough for me to sit here and bet the over at this moment? It's not. So at this moment in time, I'm going to give my prediction on this game. I think Notre Dame wins, but I think Texas A&M covers.
Hey, real quick, look at the bottom of the screen and hit that subscribe button. If it's already hit, we appreciate you very much. If not, it doesn't cost you a thing, and we appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Florida Gators are heading down to Baton Rouge to take on the LSU Tigers. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, ABC. The line right now is LSU -8.5. So it has ticked down from 9.5 a little bit. This series, a long-standing series between these two teams, 34, 34, and 3. So they're all knotted up. A little rubber match here in game number 72 against these two teams. Florida really took a lot of juice out of this game, man. They were 13th in the country last week. They had a chance with all the other losses to move close to the top 10. It could have been a top 10 matchup. And now you just kind of you shake your head again and say, Billy Napier's last stand, right? It's our favorite saying on the show. I just don't know if they are going to – I mean, they got the talent, obviously, right? I mean, Florida's got the talent.
Yep.
But can they – it's a tough task to go to Baton Rouge at night 6:30 local kick, and take on what is probably Brian Kelly's best overall team since he's been in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I agree. It's his most complete team, and this is still like I know what happened last week. This is the best, most complete team that Napier's had at Florida. And well, I'll start on the offensive side of the ball with the Florida offense versus the LSU defense. Florida, the thing that I'm concerned with them right now is they've given up too many they have too many negative plays. The amount of tackles for a loss that they've given up in the first two games is a little concerning. And I watched, like I said, the whole game against South Florida. And apparently I heard this was kind of a problem in game one as well. It was something when I was talking about Billy Napier's play call and then just blew my mind in this last game against South Florida. When they just lined up in the traditional run game with that freaking monster, Jaden Ball, and ran the rock right at South Florida, for the most part, they had a lot of success. Was it every single play? No, but like I think he had like 18 carries for like 90-something yards in that game. They had way too much east-west, man. Too many end arounds and reverses, too many things that are slow developing behind the line of scrimmage that if you have a fast, speedy, attacking style defense that you're going to be able to get some tackles for a loss. That's exactly what Blake Baker's defense is predicated on. They attack the line of scrimmage. They get downhill. They're very aggressive, and normally his defenses get a lot of tackles for a loss. So I just don't think that Florida can live in that realm in this game. They cannot line up and just run a bunch of end arounds and a bunch of reverses and run east-west against this LSU defense. They need to take Jaden Ball, run right at him, and have DJ Lagway in the play-action pass game. But if Florida is going to have a chance to win this game, we've talked a lot about Florida's running game and the offensive line and stuff. And again, right so far, the offensive line has not lived up to what they were supposed to be at this point through 2 games into the year. DJ Lagway needs to be a star.
Yep.
If Florida is going to compete at championship levels and compete against the best teams in the country that is on their schedule, and their brutal schedule, he has to be really good. And frankly, he hasn't yet. And I've heard a lot of people talk this week, I'm sure you have too, about he didn't practice much in the offseason, and he didn't practice much in the fall because of coming off of, different injuries and whatnot, and he hasn't had a ton of time with his receivers. And I'm not doubting any of that. I'm sure that is a thing. But he needs to play really well in this game for them to have a chance to win. My question to you is, do you think it's in the tank that where he can come out and play well against LSU at night for this Florida offense?
I do. It's all up to the coaching. It's all up to the play callers. It's all up to, that's in my mind, like you got a guy as talented as Lagway, and I know he's still fairly young. He's going to be going up against a heck of a defensive coordinator in Blake Baker, who obviously threw Cade Klubnik for a loop there, and I just think with the Weeks brothers and Harold Perkins there at linebacker,
that revamped secondary.
Yeah, the new look LSU defense, Baker is a master at throwing different looks at you post-snap, and that's what he did against Klubnik. And Lagway's going to have to take the checkdowns. He's going to have – I think Jaden Ball is going to have himself a really good game too.
Yep.
To try to control that clock, slow down that defense. If you have a couple 3-and-outs to start the game, you get the ball right to Garrett Nussmeier. He marches down the field in your defense. Yeah, take the crowd. Like, you got to take the crowd out of it. That's the number one option. The Gators team is so talented, but like you said last episode, I don't know if they can overcome the coaching malpractice by Billy Napier all the time. It just gets exhausting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's the only part I don't know either, man. Like, I believe in this Florida team as far as the talent is concerned and the players they've got on their team. They did not play up to their standard last week against South Florida, but a lot of that, again, was Napier. For as far as a matchup is concerned, number one, the offensive line has to play better. I do think if the offensive line can give Lagway more consistent pressure and they're just not getting negative plays, like nothing kills drives more, man, than negative plays and penalties, which has been a problem for Florida. If I had some crystal ball and can say, you know what? I don't think Florida's going to go in this game and be penalized. They can win this football game. But again, I don't know that I trust them to do that. I do think that Florida has the athletes on the perimeter to battle with that talented LSU secondary. On the other side of the ball, for Florida defensively, I think Florida matches up. They're going to get Caleb back. It's not a guarantee, but it sounds like all signs are pointing that Caleb Banks along that defensive line, one of the most talented defensive linemen in all of college football, is going to be back this week. So they're going, and Dallas Wilson on the offensive side, not a guarantee, but there's a lot of conversation that he's supposed to make his, well anticipated debut for the Gators in this game at wide receiver. So again, Florida's not lacking talent. They do not have to take a back seat to LSU in this game from a talent perspective on either side of the ball. I think you do get a very spirited effort from this Florida bunch. That whole, again, back against the wall. They're hearing all the stuff that they're hearing this week too. The good news, if you're playing the should you show any support to Florida at all, they've shown that they can dig themselves out of a hole and step up and play well. I mean, dude, last year they got beat in the cocktail party after DJ Lagway went down with an injury. That's got to be dejecting. They look like they had a chance to win that game. He gets injured. He gets injured during that game, and they end up losing. And then they go on the road the next week and get beat by freaking 1 billion by Texas because Lagway didn't play in that game. They just got murdered.
Yep.
And then they went on that run after that. After that Texas game, he was done. Billy Napier was done. No chance. And then they go on that 4-game stretch. I mean, do I think they can go into Baton Rouge and win? I do. I do think they can. Do I think they will?
No.
That's a different story. That's a different story. I will say this. I do have a best bet in this game. I am planting my flag and doing a Billy Napier's last stand moment here as far as against the spread is concerned. I'm going to take those points with Florida in this game.
Dude, I'm with you. I am with you.
Okay. I already took it. I took it at 9 when it was at 9.
Okay.
Yeah. I took it at 9 when it was at 9. And so I'm going to back Florida +9 in this game against LSU. I still think that Florida is way too talented on both sides of the ball to not go into this game and put up a fight. Baton Rouge at night obviously scares me. This LSU team is for real. We have them currently ranked number 2 in the country in our poll. So we think this LSU team's for real. But again, I still think this Florida team is good. I'm not burying them after 1 week. Would it shock me if they pulled the upset off in Baton Rouge against LSU? It would not shock me. But I'm not sitting here saying right now that I think they're going to win. As of right now, I'll say LSU wins the game, but Florida covers the spread. So I'll take Florida +9 as my first best bet of the week that I'm giving out here.
Yeah, it seems like Florida's in a must-win situation, and the old adage is, if you're in a must-win situation, you must not be very good. But I mean, they cannot go to 1-2 with a road trip to Miami on deck next week. I think they are going to go to 1-2, but I think you are going to see a wounded animal mode, serious effort. I mean, I think obviously they were 3-5 last year before they went on that 4-game winning streak, and they changed things up. I think they obviously feel the need and the immediacy to change things up a lot quicker this year, and the urgency to change things up. So I think they do it, but again, I don't think they get it done. I think LSU wins. I think Florida covers the spread. I'm going to take them +8.5, since that's the line sitting at right now. Clemson at Georgia Tech, noon, ESPN, down in Atlanta. Line currently at Clemson -3.5. So really a lot of money coming in on the Jackets. In this series, Clemson has won 9 in a row, and a lot of the games really have not been that close. For a little bit of injury note for Clemson, starting left tackle Tristan Lee and wide receiver Antonio Williams are questionable. So that would be big for them. Obviously, last game for Georgia Tech, Haynes King didn't play. They sat him out. I think obviously Georgia Tech would love Haynes King to play. I think he's going to play. They want to play him as much as they can. I think they do feel really good about Zach Philo coming in in that backup role. And I think Brent Key is just a guy who, he's the next man up guy. I don't care who you are. Guy's injured. You're coming in and you're going to play hard because you're a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. Clemson last week, I don't know what happened to them against Troy. They started off in a 16-0 hole. They had a kind of a fluky pick six. Obviously, the D locked down in the second half. Offense came back. They won by 11. This is a game that I've had circled personally because my ACC standings were very much the subject of talks in the offseason that I put out there. And you can go check them out on Instagram and TikTok and all that. This is a game that I've had circled since July.
Something I'm worried about with Georgia Tech after that first game at Colorado was Brent Key. Obviously, his background has been an offensive line guy. If I believe in a coach to get something right is going to be what he spent. We have a ton of respect for Brent Key, and I think he can get that offensive line right. The problem I have with that is, like, again, Clemson's defensive front. Like, I know, man, they may not have been like as elite as what we thought they were going to be first few weeks in the season, but I still think that they are elite, and I think that they will be throughout the season. That worries me in this game for a team that really needs to be able to run the football. You talk about like the issues that Georgia Tech has had with Clemson. I mean, really any ACC team, but especially like Georgia Tech has had major issues with Clemson for a long time now, dating back to the triple option days and since Brent Key's been there. Brent Key still wants to run the football. His teams need to be able to run the ball. Obviously, the triple option teams need to be able to run the ball. Clemson has always been really good at stopping the run. Last year, they had a few issues there at the end of the year, but they've been really good against Georgia Tech at stopping the run. And that's what worries me about Georgia Tech in this game, is that I don't know that Haynes King can drop back and stand in the pocket and just beat Clemson throwing the football. I don't know if he can do that. I love Haynes King. He's a gladiator. He's a warrior. He's going to get you some really tough, hard yardage, and I think he'll make some plays with his feet in this game if he plays. I'm sure he's going to play. But either way, no matter who the QB1 is, the number one thing Georgia Tech's going to want to do is run the football with Jamal Haynes, whether it's Haynes King, whoever that may be. And I think they're going to have trouble doing that against Clemson. Clemson's offense has been the story, though, that's been really struggling through these first few weeks. Can Georgia Tech defensively, with Blake Giddy, the new defensive coordinator that they brought in from Texas, what do they have that they can draw up to be able to really cause problems for Clemson right now? Cade Klubnik does not look anything like what we thought he was going to look this year, like everybody thought he was going to look. Clemson's running game is not very good at all right now. So if you're a Clemson backer in this, I'd be worried to death about what Clemson's offense is going to look like against Georgia Tech in this game. For me, though, man, it just comes back to, like, I'm going to ask you that first. Like, do you think that, are you worried about Georgia Tech's rush attack against this Clemson defense and this defensive front for Clemson? You're not?
I love the fact that Georgia Tech is going the NBA route and like doing like load management for Haynes King. They're like, we're playing. I don't even know who they played in week 2, but we're just going to sit him out. We're going to win that game. It'll be fine. We've got to keep him healthy throughout the year. They're not going to be able to do that against many teams in the ACC, but I know Miami's defense was atrocious last year, but I remember them coming in last year to Atlanta, and I think it was a noon game, and they offense couldn't do much. Cam Ward was kind of bottled up a little bit, and they just could not stop Haynes King. They had what's the other? Pyron was his last name, was the quarterback. Maybe even 5. I think they ran 3 quarterbacks in that game. They just kept running and running. Clemson's defense, yes, it's a little different. I'm going to go against one of the trends that I have backed for years, and I continue to back it, but just in certain situations, I'm not going to do it. And I love road teams at noon, going on the road. We talked about it with Illinois last year. We talked about it with Iowa. They didn't win the game, but they covered that spread. Baylor went on the road at noon last week.
I think you're right about that, man. I think it is like, it's just when you go on the road, we all see these environments. These environments at these home stadiums are just, they look and feel and seem significantly tougher at night than they are during the day. And I agree with you, when the road team you just wake up and go play football. There is no like distractions. You're not sitting there all day waiting to play, and the crowd's not getting all liquored up and everything for that game. Like I do think that there is something to that. I just think the atmosphere is not as juiced up at 11 a.m. or a noon local kick as opposed to a 3:30 Eastern or 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I don't disagree with that at all.
So I'm going against it, man. I'm taking Georgia Tech plus 3.5 in this game. And I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction, and I'm going to take Georgia Tech to win the game straight up.
Nice, man. You and I talked about this before the year. Last year, we went back on some of our preseason stuff, and it bit us. So
Yeah.
you've been riding this. You've been driving that rambling wreck, all aboard that rambling wreck all off season. I like him too. I had him going 9-3 this year, and one of those losses was to Clemson in this game. And I think the best thing for Clemson, call me crazy for this, because like, why would you rather play on the road than play at home? In some of these situations, like Florida, how toxic everything is in Gainesville right now, they need to get the hell away from Gainesville. And just all you've got is your brothers around you, and it's us against the world, and go on the road and go play football. Clemson right now, everybody in the world's doubting them after that Troy deal, after they lost at home to LSU, and they're hearing it from their own fans. They're hearing it from the national media. Let's get out of Clemson. Let's go together as a team, as a band of brothers, and go play a road game somewhere together, and let's kick somebody's ass. And do I think they're going to spank Georgia Tech? I do not, because I think Brent Key and Georgia Tech are that good, that tough, and I think they're going to give Clemson all they want. But this line, I think, is an overreaction, man. I just do. Thought that last week in another game, and I was wrong. But I think that line being at 3.5, this could be an all-out war, and Clemson could win this game 24-20, and that's a cover. So I do think Clemson and Dabo find a way to win this game. It won't be pretty. I do think the offense still has some struggles, but I think Clemson's defense steps up, makes the difference in this game, and this Tom Allen defense makes a difference in this game. They slow that Georgia Tech running game down enough, force a couple of turnovers, and we saw Georgia Tech be a little careless with the football against Colorado. And I think Clemson wins this game by more than 3 points, probably still around one possession, and I think Clemson covers the spread, and I will make it a best bet as well. So I'll take Clemson minus 3.5 as a best bet.
Okay, split decision here on ATB, going head-to-head in that noon matchup on ESPN. Last game in our big game breakdowns, Georgia going on the road to Knoxville, 3:30 ABC. Again, major line shift here. Tennessee was, I think, a 7-point underdog opening up. It's all the way down to 3.5. If you remember, Kirby lost his first ever game against Tennessee on that Josh Dobbs Hail Mary play back in 2016.
The Dobnail boot.
Dobnail boot. He's done nothing. Done nothing but win against Tennessee, 8 in a row since then. So, Georgia playing Marshall, Austin Peay can't really gain a lot from those games. I mean, they just, kind of just napping through those games almost. Just another sleepy Saturday for them. It's kind of what they do. Yep. That's what they do from those teams. Tennessee has looked great. It's kind of a situation where you got to look at it. Tennessee looked really good against Syracuse that first week, right? 45-26 victory. Syracuse the next week is taken to overtime at home by UConn. So you're like, oh, okay. If those were played in reverse order, like that was game with week 1, Tennessee was week 2, like what would you think about that? How would you think about Tennessee, allowing 26 points to Syracuse in that game? Kind of just, have a couple different data points to look at. They played East Tennessee State last week. Not much to glean there, but Joey Aguilar's been the story, man. Obviously, we know what's going on out in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl with UCLA and the quarterback who Vols fans do not ever want to hear uttered on this show ever again. Joey Aguilar's been the story, man. We talked about it when all this went down in April or May. He's got a chance to be a real legend in Knoxville, and beating Georgia for the first time in 9 years would be a heck of a kickstart to that.
Yeah, it definitely would. He, like I said, we've got a video out there right now, a reel that's from a couple of months ago. Appreciate you Vols fans for going on there and saying this aged well. Because usually nobody comments on anything that we post in the past unless it's a prediction that was wrong. And it's always, this didn't age well, But so, yeah, I said that Joey Aguilar had a chance to become a folk hero in Knoxville because they were starving for whoever QB1 was going to be because they knew that guy wanted to be there, unlike Nico, who's out getting pantsed right now and down in Pasadena. He looks awful. UCLA looks awful.
Yeah.
But my question for Tennessee is, dude, I don't know what it is. Josh Heupel is one of the better offensive coaches in all of college football. One of the better coaches in college football, period, too. Like, he's done a heck of a job, man, there in Knoxville. But the last 4 games against Georgia, they've scored 17 points, 13 points, 10 points, and 17 points. They've had offenses that obviously average a lot more points than that.
This is the year. This is the year, right?
It could be, because this is Gunnar Stockton's first ever road start. I know he started in the Sugar Bowl last year against Notre Dame. That ain't Knoxville. That's not Neyland Stadium. This place will be out of body. As someone who has been in that stadium multiple times for really big games, that place is as legit as the kids say. It's as lit as any Liddy is any stadium in the country for big games. And it will be at a peak for this one. So, I mean, honestly, some of this stuff, man, you throw out the X's and O's stuff and whatnot. It's how does Gunnar Stockton and this kind of newer group of offensive line for Georgia, I know they've got guys that have been there and whatnot, but they don't have just a bunch of years of experience yet playing. They've got a couple that have. But how does that group, communication-wise, on the road in Knoxville, in Neyland Stadium, handle that? How does Gunnar Stockton handle that? That's number one for me. If they handle that well, then it's probably going to be a lot of the same that we've seen the last several years. Georgia's going to want to try to run the football. We know that. Kirby Smart is not going to come in here and say, hey, let's sling it around 50 times. They're going to try to run the football and test Tennessee's will. Tennessee's defensive line last year was one of the best in the entire country. They're still good on the defensive front, but let's just call it what it is. They're not as good as what they were last year on that defensive line. So that defensive line for Tennessee, they have to be able to stop the run. If you're Tennessee, I am loading that box. I'm going man on the outside with my receivers, one-on-one with my DBs against their receivers. Georgia has some really talented weapons on the outside. Tennessee is talented in the secondary, and I'm going to make Gunnar Stockton beat me until he starts just throwing dots all over the field. I'm going to make him beat me.
I do think Jermod McCoy is probably out for this game, and Ricky Gibson's probably out too. So that secondary gets a little lighter.
Yikes. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's
tough.
tough.
I mean, he's still going to have to beat you. They still got talented players in the secondary.
You still got to stop the run, man.
Tim Banks is still a legit DC. So, I mean, it's still going to be a tough task.
Yep. Agreed. And on the flip side of it, I mean, Tennessee's shown some really, really, really good game breaker type receivers that they just every year, man. They're always going to have solid receivers. And they're for damn sure always going to have really good backs. They've got a 3-headed monster right there at tailback right now in Knoxville. That's just so impressive, replacing Dylan Sampson. And it's it doesn't even seem like they're missing a beat there in the running game. Josh Heupel's offense is always going to run the football, and that's where it starts for them as well. For Josh Heupel's offense, he likes to be in rhythm, stay ahead of the chain, stay on schedule, and tempo you. That has always been a problem for Kirby Smart, Nick Saban defense. A dual threat quarterback and a tempo type offense that can not allow you to sub in and out and get some of those other fresh bodies in, and they don't allow you to get plays in and out. But again, for whatever reason, Kirby Smart's defenses has held up great against Tennessee. They have slowed down and stopped the running game, and maybe that is the secret sauce, man. If you can stop Tennessee's running game and slow them down, they're not as efficient and they're not as explosive offensively because they can't get the passing game going as well if they can't run the football. And they're not being able to stay on rhythm and stay ahead of the chains. So do you think Tennessee's going to be able to have success in the running game against this Georgia defense?
I think they can. I mean, just that's what Heupel wants to do, like you talked about. I think they can. I think they want to take – I mean, this is Aguilar's first big game, first SEC game, first big start in his career. This feels a lot like that Georgia-Texas game last year down in Austin, and Texas is obviously having a good season. Tennessee, this kind of feels like, we've seen Tennessee play a couple good games. They look really good against Syracuse, really good against FCS. Georgia's kind of, sleepwalking, beating Austin Peay by 20 points, like nothing really spectacular.
People are doubting them, just like people doubted Georgia going into the Texas game last year. That line's going from 7 points down to 3.5.
Dude, I'm not falling for it again. Georgia's coming in there, and they're going to let Tennessee know who daddy is. Okay? Kirby's back. I'm sorry, Colts fans. I got to do it. Kirby's back. He's going to win 9 in a row. Georgia minus 3.5 is my pick for this game.
Is it a best bet?
It's a best bet.
Okay. I agree. I've got Georgia as a best bet, minus 3.5 in this game. Show it to me, Tennessee. Prove it to me. Like you said, 8 or 9 wins in a row for Georgia. Kirby Smart's defense has had the number, has had Josh Heupel's offense's number. Is Joey Aguilar going to be the one that flips that trend? And by far the biggest moment of his career. And he very well might. Like I said, if Joey Aguilar goes out and performs well and they beat Georgia, he will be a folk hero in Knoxville already. And everybody will then be taking Tennessee significantly more serious as far as a legit contender in the SEC and as far as college football playoffs and everything else. But I'm with you. I think that Georgia is going to run the football. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. I think they're going to be able to. Gunnar Stockton's not going to make a bunch of mistakes. He's just going to be solid. And I think that this Georgia defense is going to control the game. And I think the Dogs win and cover. So I'll take Georgia minus 3.5 as a best bet as well.
All right, we got tons of under-the-radar games here in Week 3. We're going to highlight a couple for you right now. Let's start off Vanderbilt at South Carolina, 7:45 Eastern on SEC Network. Somehow the AP poll has South Carolina ranked 11th and Vanderbilt unranked. They both have a common opponent. One of them beat Virginia Tech by 13 on a neutral site, and one of them went into Lane Stadium at night, first home game of the year, and won by 24 points. The line right now has gone from 7.5 to 5.5. South Carolina is favored. It's at Williams-Brice at night, so I mean that's a different animal too. But man, like, can Diego Pavia do it again? Like he did it last year. He's done it in his whole career, right? Well, last week went into Lane Stadium, one of the most raucous atmospheres with Enter Sandman. Now he's going into Williams-Brice, and we know what they're like, right? So he pulls this off in back-to-back weeks. Watch out for Vanderbilt.
I agree, man. I mean, we've seen Diego do it many times, dude. He's like the freaking like the boogeyman of some of these teams in the SEC, man. It's just unbelievable. And what they did in the second half against Virginia Tech is unbelievable. I mean, they absolutely waxed Virginia Tech and Blacksburg.
Some might say they clapped their cheeks.
They did. They absolutely did. I just don't want to say that about my Hokies, but they absolutely did. But like South Carolina, like Vandy was on a run last year, was the darling and was beating teams. And then South Carolina went to Vandy and clapped their cheeks in Nashville last year. So it's like sometimes styles make fights. Is there something that South Carolina is doing defensively and doing overall that is just like a bad matchup for Vandy? Last year, unless I'm mistaken, I could be wrong. And if you're listening to this and you're a Vandy fan and you want to tell me, go right ahead. I don't remember Vandy going into really tough road environments at night last year and winning. Mm-hmm. I know they beat Auburn at the noon type kick. They beat Auburn on the road in their noon kick. Obviously, they beat Alabama at home. Was that their only two? No, they beat Kentucky last year, I believe, as well.
They went on the road and lost to LSU end of the season. That was a night game.
Yeah, lost at LSU. Yeah. They played Texas at home, lost to them. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. They lost to Mizzou in a really close game.
Lost to Tennessee.
Lost to Tennessee. Yep. So, yeah, like again, I think Diego Pavia and Vandy's an incredible story. They're definitely not, that's the reason why this line is where it's at. They're definitely not your, the old Vandy that we're used to. But still, man, Williams-Brice at night. Lenora Sellers. I think South Carolina is going to take care of business in this game, man. I could see it again being a good football game, 1 to 2 possession type game. But I don't have it right now, but I could see myself. What's the line?
5.5. It's already best bet for me. I'm gonna tell you, it's already best bet. South Carolina minus 5.5. I think this is an overreaction to Vanderbilt's win over a mid Virginia Tech team. Who we keep wanting things and wanting to see things out of Virginia Tech every year. They never get it done. They're going to be in a coaching change, it looks like. I mean, if they don't turn things around, Brent Pry is going to be gone. So I just think that Vandy win, like, yeah, it was impressive, but you're talking about going to Williams-Brice. It's a different animal. I think South Carolina takes care of business.
Man, I wish we had some little water gun or something we could spray just because we're spraying the board here. I'm with you, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on board. Why not? I'll take South Carolina because I do like South Carolina in this game, and I was going to take them, and my score prediction was going to be something like 27-20, something like that. That's a cover. So I'm with you. I'll take South Carolina as a best bet to cover in this game. Still think Diego Pavia and Vandy are a solid football team, but I'll take South Carolina to cover with you in this spot. So we got them at 5.5?
5.5.
Let's ride.
Arkansas going on the road to play Ole Miss, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Ole Miss coming off that big win at Kentucky. I don't know if I should say big win at Kentucky.
It's a big win for Ole Miss because they've been the boogeyman for Ole Miss.
For real. Arkansas haven't played a ton of great competition yet, but again, that offense is looking really good in Bobby Petrino's second year. Sam Pittman as an underdog. That is the storyline here. The Hogs are 11-4 against the spread in 15 games as road underdogs during his 6-year tenure. They're 23-11-1 against the spread as dogs of any sort on Pittman's watch. So he is an underdog coach. He gets the team up. I believe the line is 8.5, 8 now. So, I mean, it's I was actually able to get that. Again, we're spraying the board. I was able to get Arkansas +9. Already made it a best bet. I think Ole Miss is better than Arkansas. I just still think they've got some kinks to work out on offense. I know Kejuan Lacey can hold it down as long as he can. I still think even being at home, getting different looks from that Arkansas defense, it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of variables in that high-scoring game. And so, I mean, you could get some pick sixes, you can get some kickoff returns. Like, it could be a 49-45 game, 38-34, something like that. And I think Arkansas stays with the number and covers 9.
Yeah, I'm interested in the total in this game. That was my possible.
I think it's like 61, 62, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And that's, in today's college football, that is pretty high. When it's high for a reason. I absolutely think Taylor Green and Arkansas offense and Bobby Petrino's offense, they're going to get buckets in this game. They're going.
The problem is with Taylor Green is he's got to not turn the ball over.
I agree, and I think
he's Jekyll and Hyde.
I think you can count on it. Like, honestly, at this point, both these quarterbacks, they're both extremely talented. You want to talk about just watching a game and just seeing the ball come out of somebody's hand different than others. That's both QBs in this game. Austin Simmons, the ball just jumps out of his hand, and sometimes it jumps into the arms of the defenders. That's what's happened in these first couple of games. But again, he's going to only get better throughout the year. Taylor Green, same thing. There's not a throw on the field that this cat can't make. And with his overall dual threat ability, I think he's going to make some plays with his feet. And he does in every game, but he's going to in this game as well. Going into the year, our thoughts was Ole Miss's defense going to take a step back. For them to be any type of a contender for as far as making a college football playoff or making some noise in the SEC, they just couldn't take a giant step backwards. At this point, I don't know that they have taken a giant step backwards, but they'll be tested this week. Kentucky's offense isn't very good. Whoever they played week 1, I think Georgia State or whatever, who cares? This Arkansas offense will absolutely test this Ole Miss defense, and I do think they'll score. I also think Ole Miss is going to score at will too on Arkansas. Last year, Ole Miss lit Arkansas up in Fayetteville, and I think that they're going to be able to light the scoreboard up again. So I'm not giving it as a best bet at this moment. This may find if it's a good time to plug the socials. Check out X or Instagram and whatnot. Saturday or later in the week, I may give it out as an over, whatever the total is at the time. I don't really have anything as far as the side. I'll take Ole Miss to win, but I don't feel great about having them covered. Like, if you made me pick a side as far as the point spread is concerned, I'd take Arkansas against the spread if you made me pick a side with that. But I'll take Ole Miss to find a way to win in Oxford.
Okay. Last game we're going to touch on real quick. Didn't think we would talk about this one at the beginning of the year, but we have to because it's at 4:30, and it's arguably the biggest sporting event ever to happen on the CW network. It is number 18 USF at number 5 Miami. USF, obviously, back-to-back wins. home against Boise State by 27, and then they go into Gainesville as 18.5-point underdogs and win by 2. Miami, big win against Notre Dame at home week 1. Beat Bethune-Cookman last week. Again, we're looking at a spread of 17.5, 18 points right now. USF, it's just like Groundhog Day. It's deja vu. Can they do it again? The one thing I would look at is coaching matchup. And I know we love Alex Golesh. We've got a couple of our buddies who think Alex Golesh is a little overrated. Respect that opinion. That's fine. But he's kind of proven this year he's out coaching his counterparts so far.
Yep.
Wasn't hard to do it this last week against Billy Napier because we know kind of what his MO is. What have we been saying all along about Mario Cristobal and his coaching abilities? Now, I think Mario Cristobal is a much better head coach than Billy Napier, and Miami's still got way better talent than USF. I'm not picking a side at all in this game, not picking a total. I don't want to touch it after the first couple of USF games because I have no idea what's going to happen. But this just kind of feels like if it's going to happen, you're going to look back on it and you're going to say, what the heck was Mario thinking?
That very well could rear its ugly head. I think the best news for Mario Cristobal is that he's got Shannon Dawson calling plays on offense. Yeah. And with the talent that they've got on that side of the ball, man, with Carson Beck dialed in, and we're seeing the 2023 version of Beck, as accurate as he is, can make every throw on the field. That wide receiver core that we saw against Notre Dame, those young receivers, and some like the CJ Daniels, I know he's not young, but that veteran presence living up to what he used to do at Liberty, and those young receivers, that JoJo Trader and Malachi Toney, that are very talented, speedy, just big-time athletes on the perimeter that Beck can sling it to. That offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the country. Really good tailbacks with Fletcher and other groups they've got there, the tailback position. I mean, Miami's offense is legit. Florida, I think, again, the play calling and some of the stuff they were doing and all the penalties that they had, getting touchdowns called back, man, I just don't see Miami doing that. I just don't. Yeah. And the story, and Alex Golesh is an offensive-minded coach. The story has been Todd Orlando's defense in South Florida through these first 2 weeks, holding Boise to like 7 points and keeping Florida out of the end zone for like the majority of the game and slowing down that DJ Lagway and like Jaden Ball and those receivers. And again, I know there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds by Florida, but still South Florida just plays so hard on defense. And those linebackers for South Florida get downhill and get tackles for a loss. I just don't know that they're going to be able to create all that havoc against this Miami bunch with as quick as Beck gets the ball out of his hand, the way that Miami runs the football, as good as that offensive line is, man, I just think this is a bad matchup for South Florida. I just do. And I'm not giving out as a best bet at this moment, but I could see myself going back to one more time. I had South Florida week 1.
Yeah.
My first upset alert pick, and they beat Boise outright to death. And then, of course, I came on here and gave that, like you said, banger of a prediction and thought that Florida would just run over South Florida as a 17-point favorite and Florida loses straight up. I could see myself getting there with Miami, man, and taking a shot at it. That's just so hard. But South Florida, like, I'm sure they've had other wins, man, in my lifetime that are great and fantastic. I know there was that one, what was that, 2007 or whatever, crazy year.
Crazy year.
That they got really highly ranked that year. I don't care what great wins they had that year. Dude, to go on the road to the Swamp, your in-state big boy opponent, and to beat them in this situation when Florida was ranked top 15, and that's South Florida's biggest win, man. Maybe I'm being prisoner of the moment. That's South Florida's biggest win. So having to come off of that, then go on the road again. Miami's not going to be caught napping with you since you just beat Florida. Miami's not coming off some huge win. They had that kind of, little whipping boy game against Bethune-Cookman after they played Notre Dame. So I think you're going to have Miami's full attention. I think Miami wins this game, and I think they cover, but it's just not a best bet yet.
You know what time it is, folks. It's time for the upset alert of the week. We are both in lockstep on this one, and honestly, there's not a lot of, we talked about it before, there's not a lot of analysis involved in this one. We're both taking the West Virginia Mountaineers +7 and on the money line in the backyard brawl against the Pitt Panthers in Morgantown. You remember this game last year? I think they won. Pitt came back and won on like a pick six or something like that. And it was like 38-34. Yeah, great game. They've renewed this rivalry the past 3 years. This is the fourth time they played in the past 4 years. A couple years ago, they went on the road to Morgantown. They lost 17-6. So it's kind of been a home team has won every game. I just think Rich Rod, he's kind of feeling his way out again, back in Morgantown. Went on the road last week to Ohio. Weird game going on the road to a MAC school. Lost 17-10. Didn't look great at all. I think you see a bounce back effort from the Mountaineers. I think Jaheim White finds some success on the ground. I think either Nico Martial or Jalen Henderson, whoever's playing quarterback for them, like, Rich Rod's going to figure out that quarterback position. Pitt's very good. Pitt, we're high on Pitt. It's just, it's a rivalry, man. You kind of throw everything out that's happened before. Like, who cares about that Ohio loss, this past Saturday? It's the backyard brawl. We think West Virginia gets it done, right?
I'm with you. Like I said, we're in lockstep with this one. We do our upset alerts. It's got to be an underdog getting more than 4 points. And
yeah, a lot of the line movements killed.
Yes, a lot of the line movements killed a lot of the possible upset alerts that we would have in this game. I thought about Texas A&M, and I think Notre Dame's going to win, man, against Texas.
You got to keep your streak alive.
Yep. Yeah, I know you wanted me to pick Texas A&M.
Yeah,
you wanted me to take the SEC team against Notre Dame since I was 0-2 last year with that. But everything that you said, man, the backyard brawl, the big rivalry game, Rich Rod coming back, Jaheim White there running the football. I don't have a bunch of just wonderful analysis to back up of why I think West Virginia is some really good football team, because honestly, I don't. I just think this is the definition of, like you said, a bitter, just complete hatred, what makes college football so amazing. Morgantown will be lit, and I think this is another one crazy game. I think West Virginia finds a way just to get it done, man. It's going to be ugly, and I think they find a way to get it done. And I've actually seen some 7.5s. You said 7 a minute ago. I've seen some 7.5s. Have you seen some 7.5s too?
I had a little juice on the 7.5.
Okay, well let's come on. Don't cut it short. We're going. Because
I'm taking money line. I don't care about the. I don't care about the point.
Like, we're upset alert. West Virginia, we think can win the football game, but the line will play that as well as +7.5. I will play it West Virginia +7.5, and I'll sprinkle some of the money line as well.
Okay, let's get to our best bets. Like we talked about in the opener, records so far this year given out on the pod, not on X, Instagram, nothing like that. This is just pod bets right here. I'm 5-4, including our upsets of the week. I'm 5-4. And then Lance is 5-2. So he's not spraying the board quite as much as me. But I have a feeling we're going to be, unleashing some bets here soon. So you've already heard I've got Georgia -3.5 at Tennessee. I've got South Carolina -5.5 at home against Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech +3.5 at home against Clemson in the money line, a little sprinkle. Arkansas +9 at Ole Miss. And then West Virginia just now +7.5. Sprinkle a little bit on the money line. 2 more best bets to add from me. Texas Tech -23.5 against the Oregon State Beavers. The magic is done in Corvallis. Okay, it's over with, man. They lost their first couple games. They lost to Cal badly in week 1. They lost to Fresno State last week. I know Texas Tech hasn't played anybody. They just absolutely blitzed Kent State, and I think they blitzed Arkansas Pine Bluff that first week. I mean, Oregon State is not too many steps above those teams, if we're being honest with ourselves. I think you see the name Oregon State and you're like, oh, Pac-12. It's not. They have been rated there. It's really, really tough sledding for Oregon State. 23.5 for a team like Texas Tech, who's just been boat racing teams. And they get them at home. And Oregon State's got Oregon on deck. I know Texas Tech has Utah on deck, but Oregon State's got Oregon on deck. That's like their Super Bowl. Give me the Red Raiders -23.5. One more to add here. For my boy, Alabama -20.5. Give it to me. Wisconsin's coming to Tuscaloosa. It's a noon game. I'm going against the trend again. I'm not taking the road team because if you think about this, you got Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe. They switch places. This is roughly the same Alabama team that we're bringing back from last year. Roughly the same Wisconsin team. Plus, they're in the same situation. They may be starting Danny O'Neal at quarterback, where Tyler Van Dyke went down first quarter of that game last year. And at Wisconsin, Alabama rolled them up 42-10. Luke Fickell seems to me like he's a dead man walking. And I just think Alabama, obviously they righted somewhat of a ship. I'm not going to take too much of the UL Monroe game, but putting up 73 points is putting up 73 points. I think they're continuing to take out their frustration. They got a bye week coming up next before they play Georgia. They know it's a Big Ten opponent. I think they continue to figure things out on the offensive side of the ball. 20.5 against a Wisconsin team that I'm not too high on. I think that's easy money to me. So I'm taking Alabama minus 20.5.
We have a lot of the same stuff, man. So which is fine. Maybe we'll double up and have hopefully have a big winning weekend.
Yeah.
Here. So yeah, I've already told you earlier. I've got Florida. My first Billy Napier's last stand bet of the year. Florida +9 against LSU. I already gave out Georgia earlier. Georgia minus 3.5 on the road in Knoxville. I think Kirby Smart and Georgia gets it done. I've also got South Carolina with you, minus 5.5 at home, and Williams-Brice against Vandy. I've also got that West Virginia plus 7.5 with you for our upset alert pick. And I also am going to have Alabama minus 20.5 as a best bet. That is my
Shocked face.
my first best bet on Alabama of the season. If you remember,
Joyless murder ball bet. That's what we'll call it.
If you remember, I had them only a few times last year, and I did well in the games that I had them in. Didn't win them all, but I did well in the games that I had them in last year. And yeah, for all the reasons you just said, man, I just think this is a talent mismatch. And I think that the quarterback position for Wisconsin is going to be a problem on the road against Alabama in this game. I think Alabama offensively is going to be able to move the football and score a lot of points in this game. I just don't see how Wisconsin keeps up. I could see it being very similar to like last year, like a 34-10, 38-10 type of game. They'll be amped up in Tuscaloosa for this one. Big Ten team coming to Tuscaloosa. So, yeah, I'll take Alabama minus 20.5 as this game as well. I've also got Clemson. That's a game that we differ on. We're on opposite sides for the first time of the year. I've got Clemson minus, is it 3.5?
Yep.
Yeah, Clemson minus 3.5 in Atlanta against Georgia Tech to round out my list of best bets. Just to let you know some other ones I'm looking at in case you want to look into it.
Oh, here come the leans.
No, not the leans. I'm also looking at, like I said, Miami for the reasons that I said earlier, and the over in Arkansas, Ole Miss.
Yep.
And I always try to find a good, like, just letdown spot. Dude, there's 3 this week. I'm going to call them your hold your nose type bets. 3 teams just laying a boatload coming off of huge wins this past week. Iowa State just won finally at home against Iowa in the Cyhawk. Huge win for them. You know, they went on all the way across the pond to Ireland for week 1, too, as well. For whatever reason, they're going on the road to freaking Jonesboro, Arkansas, to face the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. And they're laying a ton of points. How is Iowa State going to be just fired up to go play Arkansas State after they just beat their bitter rival Iowa in the Cyhawk series? They're laying around 3 touchdowns or more in that game. So that's one to keep an eye on. Another one, Mizzou. The border war came back. They got that game back. And they looked really good and won that game. Now they're going to lay 28 points against the Raging Cajuns from Louisiana. Yeah, I think Mizzou wins the game. But, like, are they going to cover that 28? That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate hold your nose. What the hell is Oklahoma doing going all the way across country to Philly to play Temple?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I looked at this one.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me reservations about that is just because the way that Oklahoma's offensive scheme is built with Ben Arbuckle, they're just fast-paced, going to try to score as many points. It's not the Oklahoma offense that we've seen. It's more closer to the Jeff Lebby type Oklahoma offense than obviously the one we saw last year. But that's another one. Like Oklahoma's not going to be threatened in that game to lose. but I could see Temple giving them a game. But that's 3. Just hold your nose. Coming off huge games, huge wins. Now they're either going on the road or they're playing somebody that's just like, that I'm not sure how much they care about those games.
Yep. Follow us on X at Always Talk Ball. We'll give out our bets on Saturday morning. Instagram, TikTok as well. We put out some clips of kind of just some clips from the shows, some predictions, all that good stuff. YouTube, obviously, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. But yeah, these are pod bets. So we're going to keep track of these pod bets here and what our record is. And hopefully we continue our winning ways. We continue to hover above that 50% and we can make some money for you guys. So again, we appreciate you guys listening. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.